They're called the Greatest Generation, men and women from all walks of life who grew up in the Great Depression, led our nation to victory in World War II, and helped make America a beacon of freedom and democracy for all the world. And do they have some stories to tell? I'm pleased to be partnering with the New York State Military Museum and Veterans Research Center to preserve the words and memories of many of our World War II veterans. These stories will be entered into the state's archives, where they will be accessible to researchers, academics, and future generations. Our veterans have given so much to help build a brighter future for all Americans. This tribute is just one small way of saying thank you.
So tell me about your days overseas. Where were you? Where did you ship out of?
Shore, East England, East Anglia. It's about 80 miles north of London. It's wide open spaces as far as England goes. You know, they don't have the band that we have here. I was in the 8th Air Force, 388th Bomb Group, 562nd Bomb Squadron. I was a crew chief and engineer on a B-17. I was over there for 2 years. I was supposed to be ground crew, but I flew in combat a couple of times just because I was nosy. And I loved my job. Oh, I loved it.
Why'd you love it?
I loved anything. He'll tell you. I've been a mechanic all my life. Anything mechanical. And that was. Well, if you want to hear a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went in June 9th, 1942.
Right.
And I went to Miami Beach. We took our basic training there. We lived in the big hotels there, you know. It was great. And then they sent me to Salt Lake City, and then to Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho is like this. I loved it out there. And that's where they had the training for the B-17. And with so many guys there, you couldn't get near a B-17. So I grabbed a broom and I started sweeping all around the B-17. And one day I was sweeping there and I heard 2 staff sergeants talking. They need somebody to change the starter and generator in number 2 engine. So they're talking, they can't get anybody. So I'm standing there, I pipe up. I said, I can do it. The guy looks at me, he says, did you ever do it? I said, no. Keep swimming, sweeping, he says. So the other fellow says, give him a chance. How is he going to learn if you don't give him a chance? I did it. I was in the Army 9 months and I was a master sergeant. Yeah. When I did that, my rating went right to master sergeant. And I worked on planes and I flew as engineer. You know, they had what they call touch landings. You go around, everything. This is training based there, you know. You just touch the airplane and take off again. And some of them pilots, I think I could have flew better. They hit that runway and they bounce about 50 foot in the air and come down again. But what an experience, I'm telling you. I was young, healthy, full of hell. Nothing bothered me, you know. And then they sent me back to Salt Lake City. I've been in every state in the lower United States. And then they sent us to Fort Dix in New Jersey. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's quite a, I don't know how it is today, but during World War II it was quite a base.
Yeah.
And you've heard of the liner, the Queen Elizabeth?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went overseas on that. Well, we loaded at night because then the Germans were sinking ships at night with their submarines.
Mm-hmm.
You know. How many men do you think was on the Queen Elizabeth?
I would think a lot.
That's a big ship now.
Yeah, I would think there'd be a lot of people on there.
You can't give me a number, huh?
100.
Oh.
Way off.
You're not thinking.
Not usually.
21,000.
21,000? Oh my God.
That's a lot of men, right? I was on that ship for 5 days. I had 1 cup of coffee and 1 sandwich. But I was young and healthy. So. And when we went to get on, it was pitch black in New York Harbor. And guy that's in charge of us, I don't know, with a couple of hundred of us, says, okay, you guys, that's it. That's what? All I could see was black, you know. Then you stand there while your eyes take over. It was on the deck of the Queen Elizabeth and nothing but men laying down. Stretched out sleeping there. Couldn't find any room, so I walked over and I woke one fella up and I said, would you sit up, soldier? He said, what for? I says, I'm just going to put my back to your back and put my legs across the chest of another guy. And that's how I slept. I woke up, there goes the Statue of Liberty. But some of them guys had been on here for a couple of weeks waiting to be loaded, you know. Boy, that was awful.
Gosh.
And they said, after we got out a while, we had blimps, you know, they had blimps flying next to us. And because they could spot the Jerry U-boats, you know, the blimps, they were slow. And I was on there for 5 days, and so they said, now if this ship goes down, maybe 1/3 of us will be saved. I said, oh boy, that's nice. So another fellow and I they issued us a stateroom way down, I don't know, I don't know how many decks it had, you know. I can remember going to I deck one time, so there's quite a few decks, right? So I went down there, and I said to him, the hell with this. I said, I seen a lifeboat up there, and I'm going to sleep right underneath that lifeboat. That's where I slept.
Did anyone else come up with that idea?
Yeah, the other fellow from New Hampshire, he came with me. We went through the whole war together, him and I.
Oh, really?
But, you know, you make some friends that are loyal, you know what I mean? They're all gone, I'm the only one left. I don't know why. Gee. I come from a big family, they're all gone. I don't know why. And they all stayed home during the war, had good jobs and everything. And here I am. Yeah. I've been shot at, I've been bombed. I was in London one time and they bombed the hotel we was in, another fellow and I. Now, if you're in a building like this here and they bomb it, where is the safest place?
I would think the basement, as low as you can
No,
get.
you can't get to the basement, say.
The roof?
No.
I don't know.
I seen pictures one time of overseas. They bombed buildings, and what was left standing? The doorways.
Oh, the archway, okay.
Doorways.
Yeah.
So we got in the doorway, and the whole building come down. Jeez. I don't know how. The next evening, I think, we were in there over a day. We dug our way out. You had to dig your way out, you know. But it was a normal thing. It happened every day over there, you know.
So what'd you do when you dug yourself out?
Oh, it was on pass.
Found a next hotel.
Try to find some place to eat, you know. Get something to drink.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I used to go to Scotland. You've heard of Edinburgh, Scotland? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. That's beautiful country up there.
Oh, yeah.
They'll do. Yeah. They got a castle there, like both castles up here, you know.
Wow.
I went through it, yeah.
Wow.
And the Scottish girls are pretty nice, you know. Now, where's the most redheads in the world?
Where is the most?
In Edinburgh, Scotland.
Right.
It's the most redheads in the world.
Right.
I'm going on past. I used to go to London. I don't know why. I was a loner, you know. I traveled all over by myself. My wife had relation in England, in London. So she sent me the address. I was married when I went over there. I don't know if they say I was married 3 o'clock in the afternoon and left my wife 3 o'clock the next morning, and I didn't come back for 2 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. That was the times, you know, you took everything like that. You're just lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
I always remember I left in New Jersey. She had to go about 100 miles home to Long Island. And at least, I said to myself, at least she's in America, you know. And when she wrote a letter, said some young fella come along and help, they just tell them where to go and everything. Yeah. But I was not going on past. But I getting ahead of my story. I went to London. I had the address for her relation. I went right to the door. Don't ask me how the hell I did it. I did. But I always could travel ever since I was a kid. They couldn't hold me down. We were lonely, you know. Yeah. But I was over there 2 years. As I said, I love much. I see, there's some memories up here that I can't forget. I see men die. I picked up body parts and when they were blown apart. You don't forget that. You never forget. I had nightmares for I don't know how many years. 15 years, I think. I used to grab my wife and shake her. Yeah. And then my wife was telling somebody about I have nightmares, and the fellow says, "Does he ever talk about it?" She said, "No, he won't talk about it." She says, "Tell him to talk about it and it'll go away." It's the truth. I let it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Somebody.
Oh, wow.
But there's certain things in your mind you don't forget. You know.
I'd imagine the hotel was something you'll never forget.
Huh?
The hotel coming down, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, that was an experience. Didn't bother us.
It's amazing.
It was an experience, yeah. You know, that book with Wayne, I don't know if he's got it. Yeah, it shows. There's a article in here about me. We first went over, we were flying training missions, you know, and then the Germans come after us, you know. If it was a cloudy day, to get behind you is like a cumulus cloud, and they'd come out and fire at you, you know. I'd been shot at. But I was in the B-17, they were shooting at us, and they come up from the rotor tail. I always flew in the cockpit against the engineer, and they had 30 caliber machine guns, the Germans did, and we had 50 calibers. B-17 had 12 50 caliber machine guns on it. So I got in the top turret, and when he seen me turn that top turret, he wasn't going to argue with them 50 calibers. I always remember that.
What do you do when? I mean, was that common?
Oh yeah.
And how did you handle yourself? What do you think when you're being shot at?
There's pictures in here. The whole wing of B-17 just shut off, the wings going one way and the rest of the planes going the other way. Yeah. And then we was on a mission, and number 2 engine went out. So you feather it and you land, no problem, you know. That's when we first went over there, and I couldn't get an engine replacement parts. I hadn't got there yet. So guys were stealing parts from my plane, you know. Of course, they figured they needed for their plane. And I put a guard on there with a stick, with a club. I didn't stop them. So I knew a major. I was a master sergeant. Incidentally, they were going to court-martial me one time. They gave me a medal instead. But anyhow, I went to this major. Durier, his name was. He's head of engineering, the whole group. There was 4 squadrons in the group. You know, 40 planes on one field. B-17 is a pretty good sized plane, you know. And I asked him, I need something that shows a little authority there to keep these guys from stealing parts from my plane. He said, how about a machine gun? I said, that'll do it. And there's an article in here if you want to read it about that. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, I had quite a life. I'm 93 years old, and born in 1920. And I was brought up under the Depression. You guys wouldn't have, the generation today will never understand that Depression when you couldn't even get food. I always tell a story. I was only a kid, 12 years old. I come home from school. My mother says, "Go out and see if you can shoot a rabbit, or a pheasant, or a squirrel, so we can have something to eat tonight." That's how bad it was, finding food. My father always raised some vegetables. I always say I ate a lot of stew and a lot of soup. But it's good for you. That was good food. You know?
Yeah. Is there anything you look back on and with the entire war, all the stuff that you did, is there anything that sticks out more than anything you've said so far? Any memory or just
Anything
even
that
thought?
stands out?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe when they dropped the bomb on Japan, that was kind of, I remember that. I was back in the States.
Were you in the military at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what was that like hearing that news?
The war was over in Germany before it was over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I come home and had 30-day furlough. And then I went back, and went to the West Coast waiting to go in the Pacific, see? When they dropped the bomb, that was it. They sent us back and discharged us if you wanted to get out. Yeah.
So were you happy that it was over then?
I was happy it was over, but I wasn't no rush to get out. I
Yeah.
loved it. As I said, I loved my job. Now, I was overseas a year. Like I tell you, they were going to court-martial me. I was overseas a year. They called me up to this group of officers, and they're going to, Sergeant, he said, we're going to send you back to the States to go to officers training school. I did so many things. I always say there was 4 ways of doing things. The right way, the wrong way, the Army way, and my way. And I did it my way. I was a welder in civilian life. I welded for Republic Aviation on Long Island. They made the Thunderbolt. And my brother was there too. And you'd be surprised, he'll tell you today, when I had a garage for 28 years, how many times you use that torch. What a wonderful thing it is when you working around machinery. And you wasn't even supposed to get near that airplane with a cigarette. And I use a torch a lot of times. They had little heaters in the city, exhaust stacks about that big around. They had little boilers in there. Like you have antifreeze today, but it didn't have it perfected like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to clog up all the time.
All right.
And they wouldn't have no heat in the cockpit, because I told me, I was at one time, it was 33 below zero in the airplane.
Oh my God.
In the airplane. It was just like being in a freezer, everything's frost. Yeah. And the exhaust comes out of the airplanes, and that's what you see, vapor trails, it freezes right away. There's a certain amount of moisture in the exhaust, and that freezes instantly when it's 33 feet below zero. Yeah. But I use that old torch. He'll tell you, many have out in the garage, huh, Wayne? Boy, oh boy. But they were going to court-martial me too, so they gave me a medal instead.
Why were they going to court-martial you?
Huh?
Why were they going to court-martial you, if I can ask?
I used to do stuff on my own, as I said.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the paperwork.
Okay.
Now, one time, this was here in the States even, I was working on an engine and I found an air duct that was cracked. So it had to be welded. So we was going out on our way overseas. We had all the equipment there in the back of the hangar and had a welding outfit and everything. So I took it off and I welded it and I put it on the plane, and everything has to be inspected after you work on it. So they inspected. He said, okay, the plane's ready to fly. I took about a half hour to do it. If I did the paperwork, because we was in transit, had to go through 3 different operations to get something done. It would take 3.5 days. So this one old Army man, everything had to be done according to the Army, He heard that the plane was in commission, and he says, how come that's in commission? There's no paperwork here that's been welded or nothing like that. I said, I did it myself. Oh. Pulled me in, go to court-martial. So that before they court-martial you, they have a hearing. It's a captain and major and lieutenant and me. And so this major says to me, he reads off of all what I did, and he says, did you do this, Sergeant Corsa? I said, yes, sir, I did. So then he turns to the other guy, his name was Monsies, the old Army guy, you know. And he says, is this right, Sergeant Monsies? Sergeant Corsa did this to the plane that flew in a half hour? That's right. He had no paperwork done, and he had no authority to weld it. I said, well, look at my record. I'm an aircraft welder, you know. And the Major looks at me, and he looks at the other guy. He says, case dismissed. He says to the other guy, what the hell's the matter with you? We're going overseas. This is the kind of men we want, he says. And there was, I told Wayne the story. Oh, I got stories. You know what a radial engine is?
No.
It's round, it's air-cooled.
Okay.
You know, the cylinders in a circle, you know.
Okay.
It's about that big around, 9 cylinders.
Oh, wow.
And it's all air-cooled. So when they used to get shot up, you have to change the engine. So it'd take you a week or more, and then half the time you couldn't get an engine. So I had one, the top cylinder got shot. So I said, I'm just going to change the cylinder. So the big wheel says, you can't do it. Because you have to have a press. I don't know if you know much about an engine.
Not really.
The wrist pin has to be pressed into the piston, and the connecting rod's in the middle. You got the barrel to take off and that. So I said, he said, we can't get the press up there. How are you going to do it? They don't fit. You don't fit like that. So it has to be pressed. So what I did, I took the piston off and I put it on the stove. I heated it. Heat expands, right? And I got to freeze the wrist pin. So how am I going to do that? No refrigeration right there. How would you do it? CO2 fire extinguisher. If you hit a CO2 fire extinguisher, hit something, it freezes right away.
Yeah.
So there was 3 of us all ready to do it, and I was up the top. And they brought the piston out. The guy shot the wrist pin with the CO2 fire extinguisher, and I had pliers and everything all ready to go. And I put it all together, fit like a glove. So they found out they were going to court-martial me that time too. But the plane was flying in a half hour, or 3/4 of an hour, ready to fly. It didn't fly, but it was ready to fly.
Yeah.
But it would take it 3-4 days a week if they could get an engine, you know, and you pull the whole engine off. So the other guys tried it, they couldn't do it. But that's where my knowledge of the torch came in handy, heat, you know. Yeah. I did a lot of things, and when I went to tell you, when I had my garage for 28 years, the things I did, you know. But now I make wooden toys now.
Uh-huh.
Wooden toys, I make wooden trains, and they're all over the United States. One set even went to the South Pacific. Yeah.
Wow. I guess that keeps you young, right?
Now I got 3 sets I got to send to Long Island to an old friend. Yeah. But I always, my wife, I miss her so much. You know, we were married for 70 years. We went to grade school together.
Oh, really?
We met in 1933. Got married in 1943. And I lost her in last December.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I used to ride her home from school on my bicycle. Yeah. Well, we had a great life, though. Oh, boy. Jeez. When I came out of the Army, it was tough going. They didn't give us a thing in World War II, you know. Usually discharge, goodbye.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was about 100 miles from home. And they didn't care if you had any food or money to get home. They didn't care. That's it. But I had, my wife had worked while I was overseas. And I made good money, you know. I was a master sergeant. You got your base pay, you got overseas pay, you got flying pay, you got longevity pay. I was making $350 a month. And that was good money them days. And that was clear money because you had your bed and board, right? And my wife got $100 allotment every month, and that was separate from the government, when she was married. And I used to send her $100 a month. I used to send my mother and father money. And I always had 150 a month to spend, you know. I was a gambler, I gambled. I lost $1,500 one night. But I made it back.
Yeah.
You know how I made it back? I bet on the side. You ever bet on the, you ever gamble?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, how about the dice and all that crap games?
Yeah.
I would bet on the side. You know
Yeah.
what that means. I didn't handle the dice like you and I standing, them two guys playing. And I'll bet you so much that he will make the point or he won't make the point, right?
Yep.
That's how I made it back in a couple of weeks. Yeah, so I had a tough life during the Depression, but I have no regrets. No regrets whatsoever.
Do-
I have nothing to complain about.
Do you think about your place in history with what World War II has meant to the world since? Do you think about what that means?
Well, I hope I helped. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And I do think about it, yes. But I got some memories. Oh boy, oh boy.